with the change of year.
All right, Brad. I think we are live, ready to go.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Of course. Anything I can do to ever help you, I'm going to do it.
Well, I appreciate it. It's been awesome getting to know you, especially through curator and on the state association level. So that's been a great experience. Well, just to get started, we have Brad Allen from Columbia, South Carolina, and as I mentioned, he is a constant contributor to the state association. He's definitely a participator in the realtor associations, local and state. And so, welcome, Brad. Do you mind just giving us a little bit of your, just a little intro on yourself and a little background? Nothing too much, because we're going to get into all that, but just a little quick intro.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I shaved most of my beard off, so the intro picture is a little different.
I noticed that.
Not as old as I look in that picture, but yeah, I've been in business about 14 years. I'm a co-owner of a boutique real estate company that's based in Columbia, and then we have an office in Greenville, and we're actually getting ready to launch one in Lexington, South Carolina. Again, all boutique, team-centric, but we're not a team. And yeah, I've just been doing it for a little bit now, and love the realtor brand, and I love being a real estate agent. So I love to get involved, because when it comes down to my profession, I'd like to make sure that we can keep selling houses, as everybody tries to mess that up for us every once in a while.
Exactly. And yeah, I did notice the beard. The promo shot here is a little bit bigger.
Yeah,
I've got my Corona beard going too. So
there you go.
Well, anyway, thanks for joining us again. So, you said you've been in real estate for 14 years. You've got your own company now. How did you even get into real estate to begin with? What made you think that would be a good career for you?
Actually, it started probably when I was graduating college, and my dad was like, "Do something that's recession proof." I was like, "Yeah, real estate. Let's do that." It was 2006, and so I was just graduating college. Funny part is I'm a criminology major. Didn't go to school for real estate or business, but we had a person that I knew really well that sold houses. She actually sold a condo that I lived in when I was in college, and I reached out to her, and they had a recruiter. And of course, in 2006, you could sell anything to anyone for any reason with no money. And I walked out of the meeting and said, they want to hire me. And so I graduated and tried real estate, which honestly, that decision right there formed everything we do now, because I wasn't from Columbia. I went to school there for 4 years, grew up at the coast, had no sphere, was 22, maybe. Man, it was interesting. So I have all these things that I have done falling or failing forward have led me to kind of the company we have created and the soapboxes that I will get on as we have this conversation today.
So you didn't grow up in Columbia. That's interesting. I actually did grow up in Columbia. So, and now I live on the coast and you live in Columbia.
Yeah. I grew up in Somerville for a little bit, and then the Merle's Inlet area. But yeah, going back to real estate, kind of right after the recession, obviously, right after the good times recession started, and kind of started a team with some other partners, which teams weren't cool then, and was fortunate enough to be named one of NAR's 30 under 30s back in 2013. And that has led to some other things, which has really enlightened me to how the world works outside of real estate. So I really appreciate you, Michael, for doing this stuff so we can share how other companies and people do things. And then hopefully somebody takes a tidbit of information from something they learn to make their experience better for their clients. And really that's what it's all about, is the consumer experience.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think sharing is really, really important. And I am happy to steal any good idea that I find, and happy to give ideas too. So let's get into this. So, you started your own boutique brokerage, and how long ago was that?
Man,
recently,
so
right?
Yeah, well, decent enough, right? So 2013, 2014, I was with a franchise right out of college, and I was with the same franchise, just different office. And then we decided, I think it was 2013, 2014, to open up our own shop. We were already a team, so the stepping stone wasn't too far. And we already had some back office built in. So we decided that, now was the time. And took our systems and processes into an independent.
Well, we're going to get into that too, for sure. And your company name is The Art of Real Estate, which I think is fascinating and it's very cool. What inspired you to come up with that particular name?
Yeah, so it used to be just our tagline, right? It was a team name and then The Art of Real Estate. And really, if you really think about it, and I honestly think it's kind of cheesy. I'm not going to lie. I think it can seem to be kind of cheesy, but there is an art of doing something every single time. And it's not necessarily mastery, but I think if you have a certain process in a certain way, then you get a certain result. And we've got really good results in what we're doing. So we feel like it's an art. We feel like there's not just a color by numbers canvas out there. It's a little more free flowing, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be on the same canvas, which is real estate. And I kind of attribute that to people say, think outside the box, think outside the box. Well, we really can't think outside the box too much because real estate is the box. Like the real estate commission puts that box on us. So what we have to do is be really creative inside the box or be really artful on the canvas that we're given. So that's how we got it. We thought it was a good tagline. And then we opened our own brokerage. We're like, let's go with that. Let's see what happens. And we had a good bit of traction already with it.
I mean, that's pretty cool. I like the name. So you may find it cheesy, but I think it's got some, it's got some, you can remember it, it's got some memorability. And you talk about you've got I've watched you because we're clients of the same marketing company, and I've noticed your team photo keeps growing. But you talk about you have a brokerage and you're a team, which we say that too, but you're not a team like in the traditional sense. Can you just get into that a minute? Because I think people always think of teams as one way right now.
Yeah. So we used to be a team and there was like 5 of us and a staff member. And then when we opened our own brokerage, we decided to reallocate some of the funds we were giving said franchise and put them into people and processes. And so I think of a team as it's a team sport. Real estate's a team sport. And I think that's where a lot of companies, I feel like in my personal opinion, go wrong, where they just have a bunch of agents out there doing their own thing. And if they need help, call your broker. But that's like the last thing you want to do is call your broker. And honestly, I want that to be one of the first things my agents do, being the broker in charge, is how can I help you through my experience, have an easier way with this client, this process, or whatever it might be. So I see it as a team sport, kind of like baseball. Those are all individual players. The ball gets hit, one player's got to catch it, and the same player's going to get up to bat. The whole team's not getting up there to catch the ball or bat the bat. Yeah. So I think it's a collective group effort, and that can be a franchise, that can be any kind of company, but we like to support our agents so they can do what's best for them and also take off of them what they might not be good at. Because a lot of the struggle in real estate is, there we all are. A lot of the struggle in real estate is trying to do it all yourself and also be like, husband, wife, father, daughter, son. So how can we mirror that? How can we help everybody out with that?
Pretty good buy-in from your team as you're growing into that process. So from a standpoint of that team arrangement, how do you build the culture in your company, and what would you describe your culture as? Because again, we're talking, in my opinion, just a very unique way of doing business.
Yeah, so we're not for everybody. That's very foremost in our minds, and we have to be okay with that. And we have some barriers, if you will. So we don't have like quotas and all this stuff. But one thing, talking about culture, and I think people talk about culture a lot, and that's totally cool, but you can't make culture. So I kind of think of culture as like chili or something, or like a stew, and every new person you add is a new ingredient. And if you add too much salt, it tastes real bad and the culture's not so good. But hopefully you offset some salty culture with some, sweet culture, and you have all these different people that make it up. But culture is ever evolving. And I think what you have to look at first and foremost to have a good culture is not having everybody that looks, talks, and sounds the same, but has the same goal. So I heard a really good buddy say this one time, and he has about 1,200 agents in his company. And he's like, I don't want to race people to the top. I'm sorry. I don't want to drag people to the top. I want them to race me. So if we don't allow part-time agents in our company, it's nothing against them. It's nothing that is, to be mean to agents. Everybody's got to start somewhere, and we'll help people transition. but this is not going to be a part-time gig inside of our office. And I think that starts with the culture, setting that tone that everybody's going to be in here full time, get going on it. So I think the other part of culture is you have to protect it. I would tell every single one of my agents that everybody that I bring in here will know the same stuff. We'll talk real estate the same way, because it's been frustrating to be in companies before where you're not always the most happy with the agents in your company. Like, man, they're not doing a good job for our company. And I don't like that. So we have barriers in there. We have assessments that we give. We have interviews with our other agents, usually happy hour, just to kind of suss them out. And we definitely, we don't take their opinion 100%, but at the end of the day, like, they get a good say in it because we want them to be able to work with these people, and also be part of the team to do their individual part, but yet make the team color, team flag, all that stuff fly as high as everybody else's. So that's usually where our culture starts, and that usually just starts that vortex that gets us going.
When you talk, and I totally agree with you. I think culture is extremely important in a company, and I also agree. You don't want to work with everyone. We're probably a lot like you guys in that we don't mass recruit. We don't recruit everyone. We look for fits. So, that being said, how do you guys find fits for your team? Because I've seen you grow, but you're not exploding. You're just you're adding this member, and how do you find those people and make sure that they are a fit?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what we've had the most success with is calling our friends, our other vendors that we know, not necessarily in real estate vendors, and just asking if they know good people. And that's a good start right there. Because if they're good people, it's real estate's not real hard. But if you're just an asshole, no offense, like, you're gonna have a hard time selling houses. You can't turn that off. Like, it's just hard. So we start there. We have some intentional conversations. The problem is the lead time is a lot longer. You got to get them licensed, get them trained, get them going. We do go after licensed agents, but I'll be honest. I mean, I've gone through both major markets I'm in, all the agents, and I'll suss them out and see if, I'll check out their Facebook and I'll check out this to see if they're overly political or overly extreme on this or that or the other. And I'll reach out to them, but I mean, I'll whittle it down to almost a percent of the agents out there that I'll actually call on and just have a conversation. And I think our biggest thing with us is selling houses. Selling houses can typically be pretty easy. I know it's hard for some people, but actually, I mean, with NAR statistics, 78% of people using the first person they meet in real estate, it's not that hard. And in a market like we're in, where you put a sign out front, it'll sell, not that hard. Now, getting them closed is an entire different thing. But the way I look at it is real estate is not a job, it's a lifestyle, and you can't turn it off and you can't turn it on. You've got to always keep that thing just simmering. But at the end of the day, you got to be, like I said earlier, a spouse, and you got to have kids. And so you got to learn how to turn that on and turn it down or turn it up when you need to. And so that's what we like to do at our company is we like to bring in people that we can help support so they can go have the afternoon to go to baseball or t-ball or whatever it is, or have the weekend off, because I think that is what drives our agents to be successful, is having that ability and that support. So that way they know that they can go be 100% in with their clients, but also be 100% out with their clients and somebody else is helping them. Not necessarily show them and stuff like that, but just picking up the pieces so they can be a home life too, because we all know it. We've been in the business long enough. Like, this thing will wear you out, but it's so gratifying to be able to help out our consumers. And it's not help. It's just, I mean, we get paid for it, but it's a big responsibility and we got to take it seriously.
Yeah, no, I agree too. I've got to go to baseball practice this afternoon. Not my baseball practice. So one thing that really caught my eye was a post you did the other day, and you said you guys had closed 200 transactions in the first part of the year, and for a team your size, that's pretty impressive. Especially since, we've been through COVID, we're going through it now.
Right.
I know March and April were tough with some, for us anyway, we had some transactions fall through.
Right.
People lost stock money, so they couldn't buy anymore. I mean, what do you attribute having that sort of consistency through this period and being able to have that kind of production while, a lot of agents were floundering? Now, I know we've picked up now, but from the first part to the middle of the year, y'all have done really well.
Yeah, we've been, and not to sound cliche, we've been very, very, very fortunate. I think that's part of the independent slash local franchise owner ability that we have, Michael, is, we don't have to wait for New Jersey to tell us what we can and can't do or shut down or not shut down. When COVID hit, we were already in a really good upswing. We had really closed out the year with intentionality of having a lot of conversations with our consumers, our clients, our sphere, and sphere building is really, really big inside of our company. So we had a lot of intentional conversations that led to transactions to buyers and sellers. And so we were on a roll. So we couldn't necessarily shut it down in March. And don't get me wrong, I'm in front of my computer at 4 o'clock every day watching the governor, waiting for him to drop the hammer on us and tell us we can't work anymore. And we had some hard discussions in my office. Like, are we going to stay open? Or are we just going to all work from home? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? And the scary part was nobody was coming to save me. My rent wasn't being paid out of New Jersey. If we wanted to keep our doors open and keep our 11 employees in employment, we had to sell houses. But how could we do it intentionally, safely, and with some gusto while actually freaking out? Because I think we all were freaking out at the beginning because we didn't know what was going to happen. So we just went head on into it. And then what I did as a broker, I'll kind of toot my own horn on this, is we had to have lots of discussions with our agents. Like, what are you talking about? How are you doing it? Are you being safe? I had to kind of feel like I had to lead the charge on that and make sure that they were being safe so they could continue to do this work and also not get us all sick. But I think what happened in a lot of brokerages, and it's going to sound like I'm slinging mud, a lot of agents found out that that they either had a broker and a leader, or they had a babysitter that was a broker. And so a lot of agents reached out to us during this time because not just because we were open, but because we were going through it and we were making decisions locally day by day that would affect the livelihoods of a lot of people. And so far, so good, knock on wood. I'm usually wearing a mask. That's what you keep seeing in the office. But I think that's what's gotten us through COVID and had some of the best months of our company's history. And we typically close 300 to 320 a year with about 11 producing agents in our Columbia office. And that's not us doing like this huge lead gen vortex from Zillow, that a lot of that sphere of influence. But I think that's what's got us through it. I think that's what helped us get to where we are, because the people that did want to move, that could take advantage of the sales and the prices, they did. And that happened from us having intentional conversations and controlling the narrative. Because I don't know about you, but like our local station, news station up here, aired a interview with a real estate agent out of New York with an agent in Atlanta. And the Atlanta agent was like, oh, the market's horrible. It's crap. All the houses aren't selling. That was furthest from the truth. But our local news station picked up a different segment. So all our local people thought our market was stinking. So like, we have to control the narrative if we want people to pay attention and not sell houses. So that's, I feel like, a big part of what we did.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I mean, we never stopped. We never closed down. I don't know about we are definitely a franchise, but I don't know about others. We don't have to ask New Jersey anything.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you're a local owner, so you can do what you want.
We do what we want to do, and we kept going. We had, like I said, we had some fall throughs that we, definitely were not happy about. But it was hard to control because they were cash buyers who ended up not having the cash for a few weeks. But I think it's good to point out that you guys talk about controlling the narrative and not letting the media. It's so hard to not let the media control the narrative, no matter what it is. And no matter what side you're on of politics, one side saying one thing, one side saying the other thing. It could be great real estate wise, and you're right. If they pick up a feed from somebody else, it's not going to be relevant. But so, you talked about your agents get their business not from like Zillow contracts, which I'm happy to hear. They get them from their sphere. So what do you guys do as far as like technology, as being an independent, brokerage with good business, but relatively small? What do you use for technology? What do your agents use? And do you provide that to them? And how do you ensure that they are utilizing their sphere of influence to grow the business?
Yeah, well, you can lead a horse to water, and then if it doesn't drink, you can drown the shit out of it, hopefully. But you can't do that with agents usually. So we do provide technology, and you and I use similar platforms as Curator, which is a great website lead generation tool. But I'm sure you said this on other shows, but it's more of a community resource. It's not a pay-per-click. It's more of a using local content, use local listings to get people intrigued. The people that go to the portals, the Zillows, the realtors, they're looking for houses. Like, they're good leads. They're looking for houses. But you and I make a lot of money off of people that might think about selling, like, or buying. Like, they're just thinking about it, but like, they're seeing our ads and our stuff out there. So that's one of it. The Sphere part is really, really big to us. We spent a lot of money on Zillow back in the day, a lot of money. And honestly, it didn't have a good byproduct for us, because Zillow, somebody goes to that site and I pay Zillow $110 for that lead. I close them or I don't. Nobody knows anything different. But with Curator, I use this as a marketing platform that at least has branding. So if somebody's looking at our Facebook page or sponsored ads, they may not buy that house or not be interested in buying a house, but at least they saw the art of real estate one more time. So that has got the good byproduct. I will say, being an independent broker, we have the resources and the technology that anybody else does. And I've been to Keller Williams Corporate twice in September and saw behind the curtain of all their technology, and they have really good technology, but their adoption rate, not that great. All the Realogy brands, they have great technology, but adoption's not that great. So I kind of equate it to like a government provided service. I'm sure if the government came and cut my grass, it would be cut. But if I want it cut the way I want it cut, because there's certain things I really like about this one and that one, and then I go out and find the vendor that I want to do it the way I want. So it's not a one size fits all. And I do not think that independents or local franchises are at any deficit from having to go to the open market. So we use Curator. We use a CRM called Follow Up Boss, which I know you're familiar with. It's a great Follow Up Boss. It's another independent company. They have great technology. And then we use a lot of different stuff like Slack for communication, not just group channels, but for file management and all the Google Suites and stuff like that. So technology wise, we try and get the stuff that's most user friendly, but also robust, because we're not in here just to have people put stuff into CRM. We're in it to have people make a living and get wealthy off their CRM. And that comes from our sphere of influence. And you kind of talked about that a minute, so I'll just jump into our sphere. Our thought process, and I've said it twice now, is real estate's a lifestyle. So if you're going to go to the baseball game later, well, you may have to go to work early to go get that done. But that way you get your work done so you can go to the game. But it shouldn't have to be and or, it shouldn't be on off. So what we do is we do 4 large events per market a year. And like we're supposed to have done, which we have done in the past, cookies and beer, Girl Scout cookies and beer pairing in March, where I probably spent about $4,000 or $5,000 renting out this brewery and having a bunch of cookies. And we have the brewmasters brew beer or have beers paired with it that taste good with it. And our agents, their only job is to have people show up. If they show up, then they just mingle. And we all know the first thing that comes up, how's the market? All I'm trying to do is help my agents remind their sphere that they are still in real estate, because we do that in March. Well, guess what's coming up? The selling season. So I think what we like to do is help our agents really do the stuff that they don't have time to do, because they are killing it and crushing it. And also they're out there being a parent, which they need to be, because gosh knows I've not been the best parent or husband in my career. And that's some of the failing forwards I've learned. And I don't want to see the newer generation of agents coming out. And I don't just mean by age, I mean just new agents have to go through that and make that decision. Do I go to the baseball game or do I go show a house? Like, that should never be a conversation that we have to have.
Yeah, well, being the broker and a non-selling broker at this point, my wife does the selling and the showings, and I go to the baseball games and the stuff. Yeah. So, but that was cool, because I did see your cookies and brew. This is what it's called, right?
Yeah.
And I replied, I'm going to go to that. And unfortunately, you had to cancel it this year. But I was like, wow, that's an amazing idea. And sometimes those local ideas that are drawing in the local community really have the most impact. Is there anything else like that you guys do throughout the year that you use to draw people in, or bring maybe client parties, or bring your sphere in?
Sure. Yeah. So going back to our whole sphere kind of thought process, we help our agents. Now, they got to step up to the plate and hit, right? Like that's their job. They're agents. They got to do the selling. But if they'll go in and compile their sphere, just give me a spreadsheet of everybody that you know, everybody you know. And then we'll go in and we'll categorize them in about 4 or 5 different categories. And then we will intentionally, not cheesily, intentionally reach out to those people, not getting them to buy and sell. Never the goal. I mean, if they want to, I mean, we'll sell them a house, but make them cheerleaders for our business, the agent's business. And so we have different levels. So if you're a core person for us, like we're going to do an event a month with them. But these are people that are sending you like a lead a month. So you're going to have very few of them, and they're probably your best friend anyways, or they're a vendor. So like, why not go to a baseball game this month or go to happy hour next month? But as a company, we do the cookies and beer. We were going to do rent out part of the zoo up here where it had the splash pad, which everybody has water parks. So you could rent that out. Not terribly expensive, right? Like you just kind of pay a reduced fee per ticket, have a big, usually they have like a congregational area, what is it called? Anyways, where you can all get together, drawing a blank. And then we do pumpkin picking in the fall, which is nothing unheard of. But we've been doing about 10 years now, to the point where the community reaches out. Because I go get about 10 or 12 pallets of pumpkins from the farmer's market. And we just throw them out in the field, and we have snow cones, and we have all this other stuff. Again, another touch point. And then we do a Christmas kind of movie kind of thing in the fall, winter. And so every 3 months, our agents have a reason, because that's usually the biggest holdup is I don't know what to call this person about. I don't want to just check in like, you want to buy a house? Nope. 3 months later, you want to buy a house? Like, no. Hey, you want to come to cookies and beer? Sure, we'd love to. And then, hey, the next month, thanks for coming. The next month, hey, do you want to come to the splash pad? Okay, great. Hey, don't forget splash pad. And then they come to splash pad. So it makes it more organic, because one thing we've realized, and it's statistics, the average American moves, it depends what you read, 7 to 11 years. They do not need us for those first 6 years. They don't need my services. So how can I stay relevant in front of them so they remember my name or my agent's name? So when they do need us, we're the phone call they make. Because if you don't make your business that way, then you will be paying for leads the rest of your life, because somebody else is going to pick up your people. So that's our thought process. Those are the kind of events that we do. On top of, I've got agents that do a whiskey club. They have like, some of them are up to like 20 people in the whiskey club. It's invite only. They meet once a month. It's just, it could be guys, it could be girls, depending on what kind of thing it is. And they get together and just have drinks and talk it out. I've got people that have hunting clubs, and they take people hunting. So I think there's everything that you can do to still enjoy your lifestyle. I've got one guy that goes to CrossFit every day at 4:00. He loves CrossFit. He's kind of crazy. But guess what? Every 2 weeks, every month, he does a happy hour with his CrossFit class, I think they're called. And guess what? Guess who's sending him business now? His CrossFit class. So I think there's always a way you can mesh your lifestyle with real estate to give you business so you can enjoy your lifestyle. So that's it.
I totally agree with all of what you said. In fact, when I was listing and selling, the most of my business came from, I was a part of the Hilton Head Leadership Chamber thing. We that was a year. I probably sold half of those members or those attendees a house. Tennis players, I played tennis, sold them. Kickball, believe it or not, kickball. So that's good. And as far as like events, we do similar things. Seems like you do more than we do. A little bit more casual stuff. We'll do stuff around local events like Heritage or around St. Patrick's Day Parade. We do the Savannah Bananas game. We did that last 2 years for client appreciation. Unfortunately, we can't do that this year. But no, I totally agree with that. I think that relying on Zillow leads and Realtor.com leads, it's just to me, it's like a boat. You know, bring out another 1,000. It's just a hole in the water that you dump money in. So you know, just with that said, I'm sure you do bring in leads, and how do you bring in leads? What is your lead gen mechanism? What are you doing to bring in whatever leads you are doing?
Sure. So not before I get into it, but a lot of people go, "Oh, you do a lot for your agents. You probably take 90% of the check." Actually, we can head to head. Usually, I can compete against most traditional brokerages, if not some non-traditional brokerages that remain unnamed when you really look at it. So lead gen, like I said, up until 2 Januaries ago, shamefully, and I'm not a hater of Zillow, to be honest with you. I think they're a company that's out to make money. They do not have the agent's interest at heart, But I think there's ways agents can utilize that service to make money. And I think if you pay for Zillow and you just close the deal and move on, and you don't have a good follow-up plan with your sphere to take that one unsexy, expensive lead and turn it into 5 deals, then yeah, you're not doing it right. But if you're doing it that way, yeah, what happens? Sometimes you got to buy plants that are already kind of started because you can get fruit a lot faster if you take care of it. So what we decided is we stopped doing it. We're spending about $15,000 a month between Zillow and Realtor.com. And I was already a curator client, and I like that local aspect. So what I did is they started doing some different algorithms with Zillow, and we decided to just go cold turkey January, cut it off. But what I did is I hired a full-time videographer. We already had an inside sales agent. She's a lady that works for us. So we had the follow-up already there. Because I'll be honest, guys, we all know, even if you are an agent or you're a broker, we all agree agents are not best at follow-up because that's not what they're really bred to do. They're bred to be in front of people that can give them physical interaction and read their, read their mannerisms to see what they need. So we hired a full-time videographer, which is a lot cheaper than what we're paying on Zillow. We doubled down on our Facebook spend, and we really went all in on Curator. And I know this is not a commercial for Curator, but this is why Curator is really, really good. And it's good for a lot of reasons, but it allows you to build lead funnels, which I know you've talked about before on the show, Michael, but we go out there and we have a brand new listing, 123 Main Street, and then we may have our videographer go with the agent and do a walkthrough that we will then market to those people that came through the first Facebook ad and saying, here's a video on why you need to buy 123 Main Street. And at the end, it's like, here's how to buy a house, and if they click through all of that, our ISA or our agents, we can do it either way, get those people. So you might have 1,000 at the top of the funnel, but you're gonna have 10 at the bottom. Everybody's got time to call 10 people that have raised their hand 3 times to buy a house. So not necessarily they're always gonna buy a house, but now they're in our database. We've got 19,000 people in our database here in Columbia. We're a market of around, I don't know, call it Lexington to 250,000 people. So we're a little less than 10% of the population of our market. And I know there's some caveats are in our database. So now I have the ability to direct market when houses come on the market that people have reacted to before. So we get those, our ISA looks at them, we vet them, we scrub them, and then we hand them off and say, hey, Michael, go meet Sally at Starbucks. You're going to have to explain buyer agency and stuff, but she understands that you're going to have some paperwork to talk to her about, but she's ready to go because we've already proven our street cred by publicizing all this local content through Facebook and YouTube and all that stuff. So that's pretty much our lead gen plan right now.
Yeah, and you keep talking about Curator. I've talked about it some. I've had Chris and Jimmy on the show too, and the good thing is that we're trying to generate leads mostly from our sphere of influence by local content, but we have this ability to draw people in who aren't even in the funnel yet. It's before the funnel, which is fantastic because once they're in the funnel, guess what? They're going to Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, and 10 agents have them as a lead, and they're just getting bombarded by calls from agents. So I'm sorry if you can hear that. We've got landscapers out for whatever reason.
No, you're good. I will say one quick thing I'll say, and we've had Real Geeks, and we know Boomtown. All these guys are great companies. All of them are. They're just different flavors of soda, if you will. They're all sodas. But I do think you're exactly right. When we have an inventory shortage, which I'm sure y'all do as well, if you can get people before they're already on 5 different platforms, then you have control as an agent because now the person with the most listings wins in this market. It just does. So if you can get those people or at least see if they have any interest and then answer their questions to get them to come on the market, you're going to win all day long.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I was talking to my office manager who's sitting over here the other day. I'm like, we need more listings. And she's like, the second they come on the market, they're gone, and I keep seeing our inventory dwindling. So, that's off topic, but so, when you talk about using Curator, using the technology and the local aspect, it reminds me of I wanted to ask you about your videos. You guys are heavy video. You've been heavy video for a while. You actually came to our event last year, and you couldn't make it this year, which we'll talk about in a minute. And So talk to me about your strategy with that, because you went and took money and you didn't say, okay, we're going to cut out Zillow and I'm going to put it in my pocket. You took it and put it into a different marketing format. And we're very much into video too. We do Matterports for all our listings. We have somebody who does video for us and stuff. So, but tell me your strategy on video and why you think that's so important that you took everything from Zillow and put at least a portion of it back into video.
Yeah. So, people have been saying for years, video is where it's at, and it's true, right? It's true. And I think Matterport's more where it's at for listings because it gives people the time to walk through a house at their leisure and scan and revisit and go back. Whereas video walkthroughs are like, I'm going to show them the screen I want them to see, and they can't really look left. All of a sudden, they don't look left. That's, by the way, I use a Insta360. I know Bill Olson does too. I actually stole the idea from him, but those things will do Matterports and they're only $500. Now I have a big Matterport that does one. It's like 4,000, but if people think that Matterports are too expensive, you can get an Insta360 camera that will do it, measure the rooms, all of that stuff. And I really do. I think they're $500. They're not bad. Video, again, people only buy every 7 to 11 years. So what we're trying to do is be the market resource, be the brand ambassadors for our communities, because if we don't showcase what's good about our communities, nobody wants to live there. So we want to sell houses. We want people to live there. So we do these spotlights and we break them up and we use these part of our marketing strategy where we'll do a restaurant spotlight and go talk to a local restaurant. Not so much interview style, more of lifestyle, like go show them making the food, and we'll do a little segment. You can see all that at theartteam.net. We have a YouTube page with lots of stuff on it. We do business interviews, not a lot about the art of real estate at all. Like I'll be the one interviewing them, but like it's not about us. We want to know what it's like to have a small business in our market. We're doing stuff on schools. We're doing stuff on local hotspots, breweries, all these different places, because it dawned on me about probably 3 or 4 years ago now. I was flying out to Iowa to speak to some company. I forget what it was. And I was like, I Googled like, what can I do with one night in Iowa? And like this whole thing came up and I was like, I wonder how many people do that in Columbia and Greenville and everywhere else. So we started making our content to that. If we can catch them on the front side, people are more likely to watch content about your local community to see if they fall in love, because y'all are a little different than us down in the Hilton Head, Beaufort, Bluffton area, because you can be a secondary home market. We're not really secondary homes. So, but we're getting a lot of Northerners coming down and going, Brad, this is kind of why we expanded. I want to live in South Carolina. I just saw the taxes are good. I just want to live there. And you're like, Columbia, Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head, Greenville, where do you want to live? Like, I don't really care. So now we have the content that they can do their own investigations, but it looks like we have the lock on the local content. It's not expensive. They're not hard. We did a lot of them ourselves before I hired a videographer, and they've gotten a lot easier. So I really, and honestly, I'll tell this, and I think I even said this from the stage when I was down there for BYOB. People think videos have to be stupid expensive. Agents spend $600 to $800 to $1,000, $600 to $800 to $1,000 for a video, and oftentimes you can get a college kid that knows video really well to do it. Now ours is not. Ours is really a nice, good quality videographer. We actually have 2 now, but I started out. I called a wedding videographer. He was younger for our stuff in Greenville because I didn't want to have our videographer go up there. And the guy was like, "Yeah, I'll do a restaurant spotlight for you for $800." Well, after I got done talking to him, he would do them for $150. $150, and they're not bad. Like, go check them out. So don't let cost be a prohibitive thing from getting into video. The last thing I'll say is we like to do these videos where we'll set up a studio. We have a vlog room, kind of why I have this background back here, and agents can go do a market update. It doesn't take a lot of time. You're not selling. You're not overreacting to people. You're just telling about the market, which they will watch that. But if they don't, they still get to see your face one more time that day. So when they go to sell in the next 11 to 7 years, there's Brad on the camera. He must know what he's doing. So that's our whole theory with it.
I totally agree. I mean, look back here. I mean, this is our Bluffton office, but I'm very consistent with where I sit because of the same thing. I think it's nice to have that consistent background and offer it. But I agree with you. I mean, video is where it's at. And too many people, like I've been getting some of my newer agents into video and helping them. I mean, I'll go out and I'll hold the gimbal and hold the iPhone for them so they can take video. Just get over that get over that fear. That's the big
Yep.
thing, and it's so important. Well, as far as that goes, you mentioned traveling to speak to somebody else and doing that. And I know you are a frequent attendee of Inman Connect. Yeah, I think you've been an ambassador recently. The last time they had it in person, I've seen on your social media that you've been asked to speak and asked to be on. Clearly, I'm asking you to be on this. So tell me a little bit about what it is that people are looking to gain knowledge from you. I mean, I know what it is, but
Right.
tell people, like, what is it that you're being asked to talk about, because you are, the expert in these areas. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So saw a funny quote the other day, and y'all might know it. I don't even remember who it's by, so I'm not going to try and take credit for it. But it said something like, "You're only an expert when you failed at every possibility of a certain aspect of a job or whatever it is." So I do think I'm an expert in a lot of things now. But first and foremost, I'm not a professional speaker. I'm not a public speaker. I don't do the public speaking circuit. I'm not that good. I'm a practitioner, and so what I've had the ability to do is go out there and share the processes and the programs and the things that we do as a company that stand us out, and go share. And the fun part about real estate is, I mean, even if I'm in my own hometown, I don't care. But as long as you get outside your hometown, like, share everything. That's where you get to learn the most, and people will do the same. So one of the things that we're really big on is how our team dynamic or company dynamic is set up. Like I said, I think we've got 21 total people. We have 25 total people in our company. Right now, we're running with 11 staff over 2 offices. Not normal. I still make a good living. The agents take home most of the money, almost all of it. And so how does that work? Because a lot of companies don't want to reinvest. I know you do, Michael. I think it's fantastic. That's why y'all are successful. How do you reinvest back into your company without feel like you're giving it all away? The other thing is, I love listings. Like, I love them. I don't necessarily love people, right? But we're all agents on here, so that's what we're sharing. So I love getting them. I love the processes. So one of our things that I talk a lot about is we typically charge more money for commission, to be honest with you. I won't go into all those details for all the legal reasons, but we tend to charge more than what I find other agents charge. But we come at it from an aspect of our clients are hiring us to do a service for them to sell their house. There's certain things that we believe are to be true to sell a house for the most money as fast as possible for the least aggravation. So we do full home inspections on a house. We have stagers that are not on staff. We contract with them for a couple hours to meet with our clients. We have professional photographers. We have professional videographers. We do a Matterport, and we have an appraiser come measure the house for us. So now when we go to sell something, we know what we're selling. There's an old, I believe it's an old Chinese proverb that says, the battle's not won on the battlefield, it's by who chooses the battlefield. And I believe that. And I think all of our clients, every single one of them, can be crazy. They're going through a huge life change. And I just did it. And I went crazy. So I know it to be true. And so our job is to take as much craziness out of the equation as possible. And if we can do that by having the most knowledge about a house, to set our clients up so when they say they want this price for the house, it's actually worth it and that we can get it. Like, all of that takes the crazy to a manageable level. And it doesn't make me be on the phone till 10 o'clock at night with clients that are pissed off because they just had $30,000 repair addendums turned in 2 weeks before closing, and they are already packing up for their next dream house that all tends to be crumbling down right now. So that tends to be most of it. I do a lot of video stuff. I do talk about that. A cool video I was just on last night, my buddy Matt Laracy, just talk about market trends and statistics and how the new age of real estate's working. He just posted a video. You should check him out. He's in Chicago. But I was on there with a lot of 30 under 30s, a lot of the $1 million listing guys, which, I don't know if they know as much as Michael and I do, but they do have a TV show. So I think most of it's out there just sharing the processes and the things that we do that stand us out and that make us seem and or be more professional.
No, I love that. And I have seen your new house on
Thanks.
social media. I'm very impressed. You have a pool, right?
Yeah, it was it was straight up fixer upper, dude. Like, the pool didn't even hold water when we moved in. So don't think I moved in some $1 million listing. That's not even close to being it.
That's the perfect pool to move into. So we'll kind of start to wrap this up. I'm conscious of your time, of course, and but I you know, I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying the I'm learning a lot right now. And so you talked a lot about listings, that you love listings, and as I do. What are you guys doing right now to combat like lack of inventory, lack of, you know, not every segment, at least in our market, not every segment does have lack of inventory. Above 600, 700, there's plenty of inventory. It's still way a buyer's market. But you talk below that, and it's a heavy seller's market. So what are you guys doing to, you know, drive those listings that you are getting?
Yeah, so it's funny. I actually just put together a presentation yesterday for my own company. We have monthly company meetings. We have weekly like kind of sales meetings, but they're real brief. So I feel like being the leader I need to be and guiding these agents through this, it starts with your sphere. And I'm going to keep beating it over your head, just like everybody talks about CRMs and everything else. I'm not trying to get my buyers, my sphere people to buy and sell. I'm not. But how can I talk to each demographic of my sphere and see if they might be open to it? So think of COVID right now, right? You've got people that work from home, that have kids that are probably not going back full time. At least I don't think mine are, right? And they're in a 3-bedroom house because what has happened socioeconomically, right? World War II happened, GI Bill. And I'm in Columbia, so we have a lot of military retirees. They built bungalows. That's cool. 3-2s, 3-1s, whatever they are, real small. And then our baby boomer parents, like mine, said, you know what? We don't like those small houses. That was cramped. We didn't have a dishwasher. And they built these 3,000 square foot houses that I just actually moved into. And then our generation, the X and Ys, are going, man, I hated cleaning the pool. I hated the half-acre yards that my dad loved so much. So now we've been going back to smaller. Well, guess what? We're not used to being home either. Like we're not a homebody community before COVID. We were always out and dinners and parks and everything else. So my point is, go to your demographic and say, how can I make money off of them? But they have kids at home. Like maybe school zones don't matter anymore. Maybe they'll move further out for bigger houses because I'm gonna work from home. I don't care about a commute. I don't have one, or the traffic's not so bad, so I don't care. I can live a little further away. How about people that are empty nesters? Maybe they're not anymore. Maybe their college kids are back home. Like I saw the other day that Harvard's opening up to online school and it's still $50,000 a semester. My kid ain't gonna sit on a couch working at like all online at Harvard for $50,000 a year. So maybe they need more space, or maybe they haven't downsized yet. Maybe it's time for them to downsize to a smaller place and go buy something at Hilton Head, so they have a way to get away. But now they have 2 places. Their whole retirement is there now. So what I have done is we have to have those conversations like we're financial advisors with our clients to see what their needs could be and how we could help them. And we always work into it. Hey, real quick, I know your house is not on the market. I'm not trying to sell it. I've got a lot of buyers right now. If I ever came across somebody that might be a good fit for your house, would you be open to like discussing it? But you got to go back into your CRM, have them in there, what you think their house is worth, and then go from there. And guess what? You call your sphere up a week later and you're like, hey, I got a buyer that may want your house. Would you be open to an offer? Well, guess what? You made your own inventory. The people that make the most money in our profession have a robust and detailed CRM, and they make people move when they don't want to, and they're happy about it. So that is what happens when you go to events, when you talk to people and they go, how much did that house sell down the street? And you're like, let me look it up. It sold for 600. And they're like, man, I'd sell my house for 600. Duly noted. Put in your CRM. When a buyer comes along looking in the neighborhood for 600, you call Sally back up. You've got to make your own inventory. You have to. So that is some of the things that we're working through now of talking points per demographic of first-time home buyers, of people with no kids, of people with kids, all that kind of stuff, and how we can have intentional conversations to lead the narrative for them.
Yeah, and I love that because I heard a story a couple of days ago that it was like a national trainer type guy, and he said, you know, talking about inventory right now, everybody's saying, oh, there's no inventory, nobody wants to sell. And so a buyer came into this particular market and said, hey, I'd like to buy this house, a house like this. And the agent said, well, there's just not available. And she talked to multiple agents who said the same thing. Well, she went door knocking found two houses that were saying, yeah, we're willing to sell, and bought one, on her own, so they are out there. It is available. And it just comes down to like just doing a little bit extra and trying digging a little bit more.
Yep. And I think that's what it comes down to is we're not in a recession where agents are going to get flushed out because it's too hard. The agents that aren't willing to work hard enough are going to get flushed out. Everybody has a hiring sign out right now. They do. I mean, I know unemployment's kind of rocked right now, but that's kind of a weird thing. But one of my agents, and I think one of my staff members had an idea of polling my agents and saying, who's got a buyer that would want to live in this neighborhood right now? And then doing reverse prospecting to sellers and saying, we have 5 buyers that want to buy. Is anybody interested?
Right.
You don't always have to make the full commission. I mean, I'm all about full commission. Don't get me wrong, but you don't always have to make full commission. You just need to sell houses because one house turns into 2. So my point is, you can reverse prospect instead of marketing listings. What if we started marketing buyers?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I agree with you. I mean, if you're putting a buyer and a seller together, and your effort is just what you've done, you don't have to market it, you don't have to do all these extra things. Then it's certainly a viable option to reduce your commission. And by the way, I think your quote from the Chinese, the what you said earlier, I think that's Sun Tzu. Isn't that Sun Tzu?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wrote that down to make sure we talked about it. Well, look, man, I totally appreciate you hopping on. I have enjoyed this more than probably anybody who's watching. And I mean, I know they have all enjoyed it as well because we have had some good traction here. But do you have any parting words for agents right now who may be struggling a little bit to? Because I talked to an agent that used to be with us the other day, and she said, "Oh, I'm struggling right now." I'm like, "Why?" I said, "The market is doing really well." She's like, "I don't know," but what would you tell somebody like that?
A couple things, and it's gonna throw some shade, and I don't mean to.
Do it.
You need to go work. You need to go work with a company that is not there to babysit and give you 99.9% of your commission back, because they're only going to give you 1/10 of the effort to help you. You need people like Michael and his company that will roll up their sleeves and hold a camera for you to get houses sold, because in this market, shit is crazy. And people are losing jobs in the middle of it or not wiring, like just doing stuff. I've been on the phone with more clients for my agents recently, just helping them get through these deals. So first and foremost is you need to go find a leader in real estate, not a babysitter, and somebody that can help you be you and sell houses. The other thing I will say is every agent that's struggling, take a break. Not a break like from work, take a break and get your CRM together and start having those conversations. Because what I hear from agents that are no longer with my company is, I don't like the prospect, I don't like the lead gen. Like, get them out. Like, you got to go because you can't be here. But at the end of it, I think what needs to be done is people need to start running this like a business and having those conversations so they're the market leader. And I think if they can do that, don't freak out, but you have to also put in the effort. I am not God's gifts to real estate. I can barely spell, but what I am is I will outwork anybody when it comes down to it. And I will follow up with anything for any amount, because at the end of the day, that is one seed I can keep putting in my garden to get plants and fruit later. So sometimes you get dry spells, but if you keep working and nurturing that garden, it will produce. But if you quit, everything dies. You go work at a bank. Congratulations, real estate's over. So keep working.
I agree. That wise words for sure. So just to end here, if somebody wants to connect with you, ask you questions, how to start a brokerage, how to run a brokerage, or just simply some tips, how would they connect with you? I've got you here at Brad Allen SC, but is there any other way to connect? Just go to your website.
All my social media is at Brad Allen SC, through Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. But yeah, go to my website, make a phone call. My cell phone's on there, or just call. I mean, anybody. I'm happy. I've actually got a call later with somebody that's thinking about doing his own brokerage, and I usually spend the first 30 minutes talking them out of it and then talk them through it. So I'm not necessarily a consultant on that, but I can tell you the pitfalls, and I'm happy to share and make those connections. So please, yeah, reach out to me, website, or any of my social media.
What's your website address?
So it's theartteam.net, theartteam.net.
I popped it on the screen earlier. So,
Yep.
Brad, I appreciate it. Cheers.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
It's happy hour now, I think. So
Yep.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate your friendship, and
Absolutely.
I'm excited to connect. And hopefully we can connect again soon in person. And otherwise, everyone else, thank you for hopping on, and we appreciate it.
Yeah,
Talk to
thanks
you
for letting me
soon.
do it.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.